When something goes wrong, don't blame anybody else. Take ownership of it. How could I have done better? What was my role in this? What could I learn from this so this is not repeated?
They may have told you to go to the big city, chase the busy crowds, find the bright lights, but no, you chose your own path to stay right here. I'm your host, Claire Bouvier. Welcome to the Small Town Entrepreneur Podcast, where opportunity is just on the other side of the door. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Small Town Entrepreneur. You're here with me, your host, Claire Bouvier. Now, for most of you know that I love talking about digital transformations, and the world of AI is fascinating. But today we're going to be taking a little different spin, and we're going to explore how we can maintain our humanness in this rapidly moving place that is dominated in every aspect in artificial intelligence. And today we have a guest, author Neil Rogers, who has transitioned beautifully from the worlds of hospitality industry to writing a book called Bar Tips. And this is particularly fascinating for someone that used to be in the serving industry for many years, not as long as Neil, but this book is built and dedicated to actionable insights for those people in sales and creating sales success. And after a life-saving surgery and encouragement from his dear friend Terry, Neil discovered that principles of human connection and incremental improvement are even more crucial in today's digital age. So welcome to the show, Neil Rogers. It's a pleasure to have you.
Claire, how are you? Good to be here with you.
This is fun because as someone that danced around tables in bars and served customers, and you've been in the space for a long time, I love this concept of you going from the world of hospitality. And let's go back. What led you to write this book? What was the driving factor?
Well, I was trying to keep myself from going crazy.
Great.
So I actually talked to Terry, and he says, you should write a book. I said, what am I going to write on? Right? Ultimately, it's like, I've had a good life. I've been a success in my lane, right? I was 19 years old, and it was the first bar job I ever had. I went in there and I discovered I like this. I like that feeling of serving someone.
Yeah.
And it was really a transformative experience for me. So I wrote a whole thing on that about how the experience and what type of place it was and type of people that went there and all that. So I had that.
Yeah. Maybe they haven't read the book. What can people do today to change the game, whether they're working in hospitality or not? What is it that you're noticing that you've seen? And obviously, when you started a bar, there wasn't the guy at the entrance looking at his phone because there were no phones. And I can happily say I'm the hybrid generation. I grew up with no internet, no cell phones. Not until my adult years did this come into play. So it's funny, I kind of balance between the two worlds. But with someone with so many years in hospitality, you've obviously noticed a huge change in the way we work. But what is it that if someone doesn't have the opportunity or not working in a bar, what are the things that people should be dedicating time to learning? And, anything's learnable, right? Like listening, you talk a lot about just being a good listener. You've talked about, when it comes down to asking good questions, letting other people speak, other people talk about themselves. What are things that we can do to create these environments that improve the human connection?
One is the first thing, and this is something we've learned later on in life. It's called positive activity. And simple things you do, so getting your mind right so that you can shed whatever cobwebs you got from from waking up on the wrong side of the bed, or what happened at home, the dog did this, or whatever that is. That gets you in a place of open-minded, divergent thinking, solution providing, creativity. You're happier. You're happier and you're open.
I have spoken enough times, and you've probably heard it, but the word sales, and everyone says, I hear slimy, that salesy, it's pushy. What's your take on sales?
We are in the relationship building business.
Right.
We called it sales, but in the end, it was relationship building as I look back on it, because I gave them the cocktail napkin. I asked them, what would you like to drink? I poured it to perfection. I asked them how their day was. Can I get you something else? Do you need to see a menu? So I'm just the same thing. I'm asking them, I'm not being a pest. So we do this whole thing where we separate persistence versus tenacity.
Mm-hmm.
Persistence sounds like pest for a reason. Kind of like, why aren't you buying from me? What's wrong with you?
The nagging
Yeah.
salesman. Woman.
Poking out. Come on, why don't you want to buy my life insurance policy? People don't want products, they want benefits.
Right. Is there one thing that you've learned in sales that you could tell your younger self?
So I've been chipping away at negativity my whole life. Should I have had better attitude? And that I did. But I said, why do I want to do that? Because again, of the positive activity aspect of it. Don't take them all on at once and fail. And if you do wind up not doing it one day or 2 days, so what?
Mm-hmm.
Start on the third day. Give yourself some grace. You're going to feel it. I tell you right now, everybody, when I do this, I feel better than when I don't. When I do the things that are in that book, I am more successful than when I don't. I talk about my successes in the book. I've had some swings and a miss, right? And
That's part of it.
It's where I did not use my process and
Right.
the process.
I agree. I like it. To wrap up today's episode, Neil, is there one last piece of advice that are those listeners that want to build businesses and build their personal brands? What is it that they should be doing?
When something goes wrong, don't blame anybody else. Take ownership of it. How could I have done better? What was my role in this? What could I learn from this so this is not repeated? Make sure that they're more careful, because here's the effect that it had on my work today. And I kept it inside, and I didn't throw anybody under the bus, just asking your grace to make sure that, we're making sure that happens. Right. And it works in life too. It's like if you left I don't know, I'm trying to think of something off the top of my head, but anything around the house or whatever, it's like, okay, where could I have been nicer? Maybe I said the wrong thing. Maybe I stepped out of line. Okay, examine it. And more often than not, when you get into that beef, you get home, 2 hours later, you go, it was really on me. I really should have watched where I was. So if you start from there, you're less likely to make the mistake. And I guess the last thing, always be humble and kind.
Love it.
I'm stealing that one from Lori McKenna, who wrote that for Tim McGraw. And she performed that right down the street 2 months ago.
That is awesome. Neil Rogers, it's been a pleasure. You are a true storyman. And it's so nice to hear a different side of the business world and leading through human to human connection, building relationships. Thank you for being on the Small Town Entrepreneur Podcast. And we will see you, the listeners, next week. Cheers.
Thank you all. See you guys.